process, because it's not just MES, it's not just ERP anymore. It's many systems all integrated together. So the other thing is about, so you have to evaluate readiness, you have to evaluate, make sure the companies are committed from the top down, all levels, whether it's an operator, a middle manager, executive. This make sure there isn't resistance to change, because what we've found, a lot of companies talk a good story and they want to make the change, but when you get down to actually making the change, it's like, whoa, I don't know if I really want to do this. So it's we're finding that really slows things down at a time when you really need to be speeding up. And we're finding this whole resistance is still out there, very prevalent in the industry, right? But ultimately, the skills shortage to be able to execute, not just develop or not just support, but actually develop, because in many cases, many customers have skill sets to maintain systems. They don't have skill sets on staff to create and develop and integrate as well. So these are skills that either you have to have on staff or you have to partner to get. And this is where we come in as Rockwell as well, and as well as Automate. So the whole idea of skills gap, right, is reducing the competitiveness of what's going on and the customers out there, right? We're now looking at, 94% of people are trying to increase the type of skills and the people they bring on into the workforce. They've changed the type of skill sets they're trying to bring on and fill. So this goes back to us. We have to do continuals for us as all of us as individuals. We have to do continuous learning. We always have to be advancing ourselves. One of the last things I'm going to get into here before I get into some specifics of really what customers are doing to solve some of these issues and address some of this, is we found that there's a huge data divide between the big companies and the smaller companies. And it's not surprising. Smaller companies don't have the resources as much, or the manpower, but how these smaller organizations are using data is not up to par with what's going on with the rest of the world. So there's like a bifurcation of the industry in these skills and outputs, and the smaller companies are falling further and further behind, right? At a time when they need to be more competitive. So this is, again, we're partnering and putting in right systems smart and using the right ideas and concepts is where the value is to try to bridge that gap. So I already talked about cyber. So from an AI, this is what's going on. There are 83% of companies out there expect to implement some sort of Gen AI application or implement it either in proof of concept, pilots, or in production. And we've been doing it now since about 2016. We've been executing AI on the plant floors now for almost 9 years. They've been running. So we've had a lot of learnings ourselves on this, right? But there's also on the workforce and the other systems like cobots, AMRs, wearable technologies, other systems, smart systems, digital systems, AI-based systems. There's skill sets down there. So again, the number of people being looked at to be hired and type is certainly out there. So that's just an overview of really what's going on in the industry. Now I'm going to go through some of what is happening, what's really happening in the component industry in the automotive space. So it's not just about the vehicle OEMs, it's about the tier one suppliers, the tier twos, the tier threes. And everything I'm bringing up here is in real time going on in the tier supply space. Now, I'm not going to get into which customers and which ones are where and where they're at and who's doing what, but everything I'm bringing up is live and is being worked on. And one of the major focus to create an agile operations is really around quality. So quality is now the number one focus for trying to improve my operations management capabilities of my factories, right? So quality was always important, but it was always like efficiency was number one, quality was always like number two. Well, it's flipped now. Quality is now number one because now you learn that if you improve with quality, I'm improving efficiency at the same time. So, it is the by region, the number one focus now. But improving efficiency is still top, right? And number two. So improve quality, reducing costs, drive efficiency. And ultimately, these also help us drive our sustainability goals. So these are, again, all of this works together to meet entire corporate goal and plan. But it really takes how do you do what when? What's this roadmap and blueprint? Many customers need help. And you think like this is a broad spectrum of people that I can call IT over here and people from California have had experience and they're going to help me out with my manufacturing. The answer is they may be good at IT systems, but they don't understand how the IT OT space really interacts and works together and the differences. And when you really look at it at the space, there's really, instead of having a market like this of people to choose from to really help you execute the business, not just tell you what to do, but actually help you decide what to do, but then help you actually execute it. It's a really a narrow bucket. It's still a narrow bucket out there. And this is where we as Rockwell really come in to help out. So the whole idea of trying to unleash and unlock the value that's already in your organization by instituting this digital thread all the way from product design and development, because many people don't realize that we are helping customers with PLM strategies, PLM execution, even though we're not a PLM company. But because it plays such a part now in the digital thread, we work with Teamcenter, we help that, with Dassault, Innovia, Delmia, Windchill, PTC. We work in all these spaces to help customers build a strategy instead of just using PLM as a repository, actually using it for what it's designed to do and how to integrate that with electronic data work instructions, with bill of process integration of the plant floor and quality and backup. So, and how this all works together, right? And all the way down to the workforce and optimization of product, process, and people, right? This is where the digital thread is. But when the Plex guys come on, they're going to be talking about MOM, and everyone talks about MES and what's MOM. So MES is execution. MES is enforcement. But MOM is much broader, and this is what the Plex team can bring to market, right? So you move from just MES to integrating PLM, ERP, quality system data, workflows, SCADA systems, data analysis, analytics, IoT, CMMS, and having all these systems integrated in the workflows between the data flow between them to be able to provide these insights and capabilities that were never there and the efficiencies that were never there before. So this is what we do as a company these days, is we are a QMS company. We are an ERP company. We go through the MES. We go through all of these. Everything on this slide is Rockwell today and what I do every day, right? So all of these systems, and my team does this. But MOM is all about defining that set of operating principles for the overall enterprise and creating these standardized processes, enforcing the requirements of engineering and product and process requirements to make sure things are being produced to spec, right? To improve, if everything ran perfectly, you would never need an MES system. But the whole idea is things don't run perfect. Parts aren't perfect. Processes aren't perfect. People aren't perfect. Things break down. So you have to manage the exception. And that's what it's all about, is how you deal with the exception and non-conforming. And that's what the systems do by integrating all this together. You're not creating silos of information anymore and silos of departments who don't talk. You actually have integrated systems and process being able to give alerts, predict, report, uh, guide, right, on what best needs to be done, where, when. And it also then normalizes the data that's better used for analytics and AI and ML when you do this work. So you get the benefit of getting further advanced, but you got to build that foundation, right? And then the whole real-time compliance and control plans, how you automate all of that, and set up your audit plans and structures and checklists around changes and control plans and FEMAs. That's all integrated now, right? And ultimately, this reduces the complexity of managing the entire operation and making it easier to maintain when we get it to that point. It just takes a little bit to get there. In a brownfield, it's fairly straightforward to do it in a greenfield, but we have to work it. So we've worked together engineering from PLM. How do you design the workflows? How do you do PLM work instruction development? How you do the bill of process to be better consumed by an operator, be better used by MES. So we've worked all these workflows, and again, we're agnostic. So anything on us on the information side, we have to integrate to all of these different systems, Plex included, right? So which we do. And so we work together to fill all this out. So from a PLM, from an engineering BOM to an MBOM, right, to a process plan, and taking those process plans, MBOMs, and work instructions and integrating them down to an MES, right? And be able to take that as-built data and understand it and run that through a virtual environment for testing, validation, what-if scenarios, and then moving and making those changes of what-if scenarios and putting it back into the process, closing that loop. These are things that are happening live today in the industry. So this is no longer the wish. These things are happening. It's just it's not happening everywhere. In fact, it's not happening in most places yet. So that's one. So agile, manufacturing operations is one. The other thing that's happening is the autonomous factory, the whole idea of application of AI and ML. So this is the race is to figure out how best to implement it in every application. We as Rockwell now have a team of 800 data scientists in Rockwell to be able to help customers go through that, because a lot of the smaller companies don't have those that type of manpower and skill set. But this is a major focus for us to be able to go do that, right? So the whole idea from us, and I'll ask this question, everyone thinks the autonomous factory, and I know when I first did this a number of years ago, I think, oh, autonomous factory, that's like a lights out factory. The answer is no. A lights out factory is a fully automated factory. It's not an autonomous factory. Why? An automated factory and automated systems are built with standard logic, standard programs, right? They follow certain levels of physics, right? Design. They follow the requirements of a system, right? They have PID loops to manage certain variables, but they don't learn. They don't improve. So the whole idea is to move to the autonomous factory, is learn how to apply these AI machine learning concepts around process design, supply chain, material flow, people movement, scheduling, machine optimization, and how we get that all work together. So all these different buckets are all learning from each other. They're improving themselves, but then they're communicating to all the different parts that are then improving from the output or the input that's coming to them or being driven out of them, right? So to be able to solve these multi-nonlinear, high variable use cases. Now, again, this is real. We're doing this across the board and have been doing it for almost 9 years now. So the tire industry that I'm involved in is the #1 industry where this is being used across the board globally throughout the entire process of manufacturing. So we can use these examples. We've got them running in automotive. Automotive's a little more non-standard than a tire factory is. or a battery factory, so it's a little more challenging, but we can still have the skill sets, ideas, capabilities, tool sets to be able to solve it. But this is what we're working on. So, to create, automatically create and update, the dashboards, the process optimization, the integration of the PLM, ERP, MES, and MOM systems, doing a live digital twin instead of just doing a digital twin that's there to develop the plant, actually run it live 24/7 so it learns and helps people speed up to predict when things could happen with different material flow changes, or what, based on MTBF or MTTR issues, what's the best way to get around them. So you can do these things with live digital twins now to be able to, once you feed it with some of this data that you get off the plant floor. So there's a lot of different things that we're doing and happening, and we follow a standard process, right? From a descriptive point to a predictive to a prescriptive scenario, and how we have a standard idea, and this is what the industry's done over time. So I know I introduced model predictive control in automotive 15 years ago, and we as Rockwell have been deploying model predictive control since the 1990s. A lot of people don't realize that. But now we've moved on to machine learning control. So model predictive control is still a static model that has to be retrained every so often. But when you start adding on these AI and machine learning algorithms into these models, now I can be prescriptive. So it's this whole thing of optimizing my process and my decisions around product, people, and process. So when I take these concepts and try to close the loop, this is machine learning control methodology. So this is where you automate. So everyone talks about describe, diagnose, predict, prescribe, but those are manual functions. It still takes someone to do something. The value comes in when you then are able to figure out how to implement that in real life, right? To make real decisions in real time without intervention, and learning to continuously improve over time. And we've got many different applications which we're doing this. Excuse me. But we're also developing standard product that are machine learning, AI standard product. So it's not just customized systems all the time to be able to provide the value, but standardized systems to do anomaly detection, to do inferred soft sensing instead of using hard data, creating synthetic data, doing soft sensing on it, doing condition analysis, machine vision AI. And it's not just using 2D cameras, it's using X-ray vision, heat images, doing AI on any type of image. And these are things we've been doing and have brought to market, bringing some co-pilot capabilities to system development, design development, predictive maintenance, inventory optimization, scheduling optimization, supply chain optimization. So we are developing these systems and products. We're using them ourselves right now. So once we get them to the point that we are confident with what we have, we're going to be bringing them into market as standard product, because we're developing all, productized solutions at every level of the SLA 95 model, right? So that's AI. But all of these systems create the need for cybersecurity, and there's a cost and impact to cyber events now to all of us, right? So it is now a $6 trillion cost to the global economy. This is the cost out there. An average cost to a breach to the company is 4.24 million. And everyone in the US, every executive, the CISO, is liable for not protecting their organization. So these are things that we're having discussions with. And it used to be okay just looking at the IT side, but you got to look at the OT side now, right? And look at these costs and the downtime. We've had Fortune 50 companies that have been impacted by cyber events across the plants across the globe that have been shut down for a month before they can get the plant up and running. I'm not going to talk about which ones, but there are numerous customers that we've run into have been impacted by cyber events, right? But why is manufacturing the soft underbelly? Number one, antiquated systems. We run equipment for 20, 30, 40 years. Well, those systems were never designed with cyber in mind, right? They don't have the capability. So you got to really build a concept and a plan on how you're dealing with these. How you deal with it, even old ones that were on network, even Blue Hose in Rockwell terms, or are just plain Ethernet. You got to really manage how you structure your whole plant. And you need the skills to be able to do it, and you need the visibility of what's on your networks, right? To understand what your risks are and how to mitigate it. So, and what's the cost to everyone in every organization? There's potential loss of life if you lose control of a piece of equipment or a pipeline breaks down and explodes, right? There could be loss of life. Stolen intellectual property. This has been happening. I've been working globally for 20 years, 25 years. And let me tell you, this happens constantly out there. Production loss, certainly there. Unscheduled downtime, absolutely. Damaged equipment because someone got into a program and did something wrong, either whether it was nefarious or non-nefarious. Maybe it's an inside actor, just didn't know what he was doing, or a contractor, right? How to protect yourselves from these situations. Environmental impact. I have a release of sludge that goes out into the river. Then what's it costing me about regulations and fines? The image and standing of the organization and individuals in the market, and ultimately profitability. So cyber also plays a big role in what's going on, and the whole concept of cybersecurity is defense in depth, multiple layer, multiple systems, right? Of how you protect yourself, multiple ideas, following different standards out there, as Rockwell is, and we're part of Homeland Security, right? We're on the team as we follow the NIST model, right? So identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. So not only having products, but having the services to be able to help customers in any one of these different scenarios, right? So this is big. Following the NIST framework is what we do, and we recommend all companies do. But with the cost of labor going up, the other thing that's happening in the component industry and entire automotive industry, including OEMs, is trying to eliminate non-value added labor. Well, some of the simple things is they're trying to optimize material movements, supply chains, trying to add in different automation concepts, techniques, right? That's through they're adding AI into the mix in different parts of it. So we as Rockwell are doing the same thing. So this is Rockwell's AMR, but we also have an AI-based fleet manager, right, to be able to manage AMRs. These things could be any AMR. It's not just Rockwell, right? So depending on the size, the load, right, and where it needs to go, right, this is a huge concept because it's eliminating a lot of quote unquote non-value productive labor. So everyone is looking at this, and I'm sure you guys are as well, right? So these are possibilities, but it's not just that. When you get into high-speed manufacturing, AMRs don't work. AMRs work great supplying product to a line, but when I'm in a high-speed manufacturing application, AMRs don't solve that problem. But I need something that's fast. I need something that's reliable. I need something that is flexible and agile to change my design, my pitch all the time. And this is what we've been after and been doing this in automotive for 10 years. We've been doing it in battery. We're now the leader in the battery manufacturing process in intelligent conveyance, right? Linear motor technology. So being able to replace mechanical systems that turn rotary motion into linear motion that you see on the right, you see all the mechanics parts that are there, and the reliability. If anyone knows reliability engineering, every single part reduces reliability. So you replace what's on the right with what's on the left. We have systems and we're running entire body shops now in vehicle OEMs with this technology, eliminating what's on the right. And we have customers that not had a downtime situation due to conveyance in 8 years. You can't say that for what's on the right? And it's twice as fast. It can move product twice as fast. So you get throughput, you get reliability, right? And you get improvement in the whole in productivity, improved time to market, reduces floor space, efficiencies. These are other things that are going on in the industry. If you haven't seen it, it is happening everywhere around the globe. This isn't just vehicle OEM. This is tier suppliers doing this. There's different sizes of technology, different cost points. But the last one I'm going to get into is there's a brand new concept of software defined manufacturing. And I've got just a couple minutes left here. And it's around the whole idea of automating your manufacturing and being able to be agile to change my process on the fly, right? So the whole idea of starting with a standard, small level product, a system, a concept, right? Then adding in a device and adding in a library, creating standard objects that then I can standardize on and even integrate the PLM to develop what we do, automatic code generation now. So now I can have these building block objects directly from PLM, and not only I can create all my program to run out of the box in manual function, and I used to have to add some automated features into my code, but I can test it all virtually and make these changes on the fly. So now I can take the whole design and management process and make 3/4 of it standard and flexible and agile now, right? So creating a whole body shop weld cell can be object-based drop, and I can shave off months of design and startup time from what it was before, right? I can also train my employees in the virtual design. So now I can also test manual systems in the testing my process, my procedures, my process steps. I do my timing, do all my time studies. I can train my operators at the same time before machine actually hits the floor. So again, shortening time to market, which improves profitability. So these are things we're doing every day at customers, both in the component world and the vehicle OEMs. So in summary, what I'm going to say is everyone needs to be ready to move, right? But you need to identify you need to identify where you're at, assess where you're at, so you know where we need to move to be able to build the roadmap and build that blueprint to move forward. Then we need to stand up in the various areas, some minimum viable pilot projects, even production on items we've already done, be able to scale it and then optimize it, add optimization into the process. So this is full digital transformation across the whole ISA 95 stack that we do. And there's been huge value to customers doing that. We've actually improved plants by 30%, the output of the plants with these ideas without adding assets. We even decreased time to market. We've reduced operational costs, improved OEE. Again, most of the time without adding machines or assets or very minimal or reducing downtime. So we as Rockwell are focused, Plex is our cloud-based. So a whole cloud-based design and manufacturing. We are as a company are planning a whole cloud-based part of our business as well as the traditional on-prem and hybrid part of the business. So we're not getting rid of one and moving to another. We've got it all, right? So, and do this around the whole operations management to be able to develop, specific industry applications that are productized and valued instead of just selling a product, selling an actual solution, right? to solve a problem, to be able to add AI into it and optimize these applications, and to be able to do analytics and bring normalized data together to do analysis. And what most people may not realize, you on this call, that Rockwell ourselves have been on this journey for almost 12 years of redesigning who Rockwell is. So we've been acquiring companies, adding organic enhancements as well as inorganic acquisitions, Plex being one of them, right? But Verve on the cybersecurity, ClearPath that's on the fleet manager, AI-based fleet manager with Auto, Fix for cloud-based CMMS, Euler, right, and Avnet about cyber services, Calypso from the data science and AI and PLM. So we've been adding all these capabilities all the time, and this is what partners like Automate can help you, right? Because now we have everything, every system that you need to run a plant. A customer comes to Rockwell with a greenfield plant. We have everything to run a plant: hardware, software, and systems. So from your automation to your automation standards to an MES, right, to different SCADA systems and creating standard apps like an ASRS system app or a performance management application, torque tool management, AMR integration, universal middleware, ERP, WMS, which we're just coming to market with here this summer, integrating to HR systems, got the quality management and the CMMS. We have everything to run a factory now, and we're doing that. We've helped a lot of customers, greenfields, to run the entire plant. So with that, I've come at the end of my time. And when we finally layer on optimization, we've got it all. And Dallas, based on the time, I think I used my time allotted and maybe 2 minutes more, but I'm right on, should be right close. Anyway, thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'll stay on for any questions later.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. You did great. You used the time very wisely there, so we appreciate that. Let's make sure that I'm sharing the right screen here. We'll jump back into this. And okay, so thank you so much, Bill, for that. Bill just shared a ton of good information. And as he mentioned, this digital transformation, it is a journey. You're not going to be able to step into this and complete your entire digital transformation over a period of a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And that's one of the things that we as Automate IT, being one of 5 software resellers in the United States for Rockwell, we can help guide you through that digital transformation. And a lot of times we do that with the Plex team. So we have Fred on here. He's going to talk about something, and Ash K and Sarah are also going to talk about that. But we talked about agile operations and AI and ML and cybersecurity and non-value added labor and software defined manufacturing. There are a lot of things that go into this digital transformation or smart manufacturing, industry 4.0 and 5.0. And a lot of times what we know in working with facilities is a lot of facilities, they just don't know where to start. It can be very overwhelming when you see all the information that Bill talked about and you hear about what your competitors and other facilities are doing. It's very easy to get overwhelmed by the amount of software, the amount of robotics, how AGVs, AMRs, there's a million different solutions for each one of these things that you're trying to achieve in your facility. And so I'm really excited because we are here now. I want to talk to you about a total line efficiency audit that we as Automate IT execute with our partners. And what this total line efficiency audit is what we're doing is we're taking a look at a single manufacturing line in your facility, or it's maybe just a single manufacturing process in your facility. As Bill stated, quality is now the number one thing that facilities are looking at, but efficiency is right there as well. It's number 2, and it's been in the past number 1 across all industries within the manufacturing industry. But what we're doing with this audit is we are coming to your site, taking a look at your process, and looking at the key areas that we have over here, whether it's uptime and downtime, quality control, safety and risk reduction, automation and tech integration, workforce efficiency, data monitoring and KPIs, or energy and resource efficiency. What we're doing ahead of time is we have a planning meeting where we're discussing which key areas that we want to look at and what are the specific outcomes that you want to see in each key area. For example, maybe we are looking at the uptime and downtime. So what are some things that we can do to eliminate the downtime problems that we're having right now? Or quality control. How do we reduce scrap? We're having a lot of problems on this manufacturing line. We don't know whether it's the operators, it's our process, it's our machine. Our team will take a really in-depth look at this and then give you recommended solutions that align with your goals. You know, same thing. What if it's automation and tech integration? We have very manual processes within our facility. We know that this can be automated. There's a million different ways that we can do it from what we've seen. Come in and give us your perspective of the best way to automate this process. And so we'll define each one of those key areas and the specific outcomes that you want to achieve. Our team will come on site with our subject matter experts in those areas. We'll do an audit of the machine. Do you have this in place? Is this in place and this in place? And then that will allow us to find areas where we can do better in the facility or where you're already doing well. What kinds of software do you already have in place? Can we leverage some of those pieces of software? Or what kind of automation do you already have? There's a lot of things that we can do to give you recommendations that aren't going to necessarily break the bank. What we're really looking to do here is find our lowest hanging fruit to give you ideas of things that are not going to blow up your entire budget for the year, but will make significant improvements in your efficiency in that key area. So once we're done with that audit, our team will go back and build this nice, pretty report that you're looking at right here. These are just a few screenshots of it, but what we're looking at here is our key findings chart where we're going to show you, hey, here's where you're doing well, here's where you could do a little bit better, and here's where you could do a lot better. And all of these areas are based on the specific outcomes that you are looking for in those desired key areas that we were talking about. Then we'll be able to come back and also give you key recommendations that you guys, so that you guys can use. Those key recommendations chart that we're looking at right here, it shows you where are you currently at, and here's where you said that you wanted to be down the line, and now we're bridging the gap to get you to your end goal. And then we will also, based on the KPIs and the metrics that you're able to provide us with, we can provide you with increases in efficiency that you may see, whether it's in OEE or it's production throughput or it's reduced scrap. And if you're able to give us some more, cost of downtime, cost of scrap, we can actually start building out an ROI and a business case for you for that specific solution. So I bring that up because this engagement is a non-paid engagement. We'll come to your site. There's no cost to you. We will put together, we'll help you come up with a plan that aligns with your goals. So if you're in the position where you know that your facility can become more efficient in certain areas, then the total line efficiency audit is a great way to start. Again, there's no cost. If you just take the time here, and this is something that you do think would be of interest for your organization, go ahead and scan the QR code there. It's going to take you to a page where you can schedule some time with myself. And then once you schedule it, invite your quality team, invite the safety team, EH&S, production, whoever it may be. Make sure and get them in on the conversation, and we'll figure out who has prioritized what. Make sure that this engagement is something that works for everybody in your facility. So with that being said, want to make sure that you understand that Fred is going to talk about another engagement, a non-paid engagement that is incredibly valuable for organizations that are measuring OEE. So Fred, I will push it on over to you, and you can just tell me next slide.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Dallas. So Dallas just reviewed an offer that Automate IT is extending to you, a complimentary offer to kind of get into your business and focus on a single line and bubble up some of the key metrics and KPIs that are causing leakage and efficiency, right? That's awesome. What I'm going to talk about is something that kind of goes beyond that, and that is every manufacturer I've ever engaged with says, how do we compare against this company or that company? And are always asking me about how they benchmark, right, against the marketplace. That's exactly what this next offer is. So if you can extend that out to the next slide, awesome. So I'm going to throw a company name at you, APQC. APQC, you may be aware of them, many people are not, but they are the global standard for benchmarking manufacturing efficiency. Okay, so they work with over 50,000 companies around the world every year to grab actual data regarding process, performance, efficiency, KPIs. They then resell that information to subscribers. It's extraordinarily expensive, by the way. Rockwell, being the company we are, invest in these APQC reports, and as a result, have the ability to go in to these reports and filter them down based on what a similar customer or prospective customer of ours looks like, and be able to share them kind of an apples to apples comparison of how they rank against key KPIs, not outside of their walls, right, with other peers in the marketplace. And if you can go to the next slide, I'll tell you what that looks like. So Dallas shared his report card for a single line efficiency audit. This is what that same kind of report card would look like comparing your company, your business, against a peer manufacturer or group of peer manufacturers in a variety of different functional areas. And a lot of these apply to the tariff conversation we're having today, right? Because think about it, if you're producing goods and you're faced with tariff-related material cost increases, sometimes you can pass those costs on to your customers. Most oftentimes, they're not going to allow you to pass all of that cost, right? So margin compression is real, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. So how do you future-proof your company against this margin deprecation caused by tariffs? Well, one is produce better quality goods, right? So quality is super important. Another is efficiency, right? To get more and better quality production throughput out of your current people and your current equipment. And then have a really strong handle on product costing. Do you really know where you're making and losing money at each operational stage of your WIP process? And are you selling that good at a fair enough margin, or are you actually losing money on that particular product or part with some of your customers? So as you can see on the left-hand side here, finance, inventory, production, quality, and delivery are all the metrics that we measure with APQC. We're able to take your specific manufacturing type, your company size, and then take the data that you provide us against each one of these 10 key metrics, right, that you'll provide to us. We'll compare that to this peer group we've collected from the 50,000 worldwide responses, and then stack rank you against your peers and put you in either the 25th, 50th, or 75% percentile. Now, in this case, this particular manufacturer had two locations, one in a town called Brewer, the second in a city called Whiteville. And it's a classic stoplight color coding system. They were 80% in the percentile in cost of goods sold as a percentage of revenue. So that's obviously an area that they can improve in. Some areas they were on par with their peers, and that's what the yellow reflects. And then there's some areas, specifically around some aspects of quality and delivery, right, where they were actually at or above the marketplace. So important to know that this is pretty typical of what we see in most companies we do this exercise with, where they're exceptional in some areas, and there are a lot of areas where they could use some improvement. But knowing where you need to improve vis-a-vis your peers is the magic here, right? That's what we're offering in this. So how does this work? How does this offer work extended through Automate IT and Plex? Well, we simply ask you to provide your data for these 10 KPIs listed on this slide, right? Most of it's pretty easily gathered either through your front office, your accounting team, or in some cases maybe it's available with your reporting, right? Your annual reports, and put it in there. It doesn't have to be exact, but directionally it should be pretty accurate. And then we'll get back to you within 2 weeks and provide you with a scorecard just like this. And if you see some areas where you feel that improvements needed immediately, we'd like to work with you through Automate IT in order to share some of the products that we offer that address some of the areas of concern. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, just like Dallas mentioned, this is a complimentary offer. If you would like to take advantage of this, simply scan the QR code or reach out to Dallas and his team directly at the information on the screen right now and say, yeah, sign me up for that. I'll be able to have Fred reach out to me or have Dallas reach out to me to get those 10 questions answered. And then we'll get back to you within 2 weeks with the results. Thanks, Dallas.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you, Fred. I appreciate that. So, guys, I know that Fred and I just threw a lot of information to you. You may not have had a chance to scan the QR code the first time around. Just know that this QR code is going to take you to the same scheduling calendar. And so just put in there, if it's for the total line efficiency audit or if it's an OEE workshop, or maybe you don't get around to scanning this at all. Just know that Travis has put in a link in the chat so that if you want to go ahead and schedule a conversation with us, it may be totally outside of the total line efficiency audit or the OEE workshop. Maybe you've identified that you guys do want to your facility does want to go in and look at MES, or you want to look at AGVs or AMRs, or you're looking at automating processes and you know specifically what you're wanting to talk about, then feel free to go ahead and click on the link in the chat, and our team can meet you wherever you're at on your digital transformation, whether you're at the planning stages or you're halfway through. It's always good to have another set of eyes on it that can bounce ideas off of you, ask you, have you thought of this and have you planned for this? We would love to be your partner working forward. So with that being said, our next speaker is going to be Ashkay, who is going to be talking to us about quality. And then we'll have Sarah after him. So Ashkay, I will stop sharing and it is your screen.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me, Dallas?
Yes, sir.
1 second, I'll share my screen. 1 second. Okay, so hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Akshay, and my background actually comes from manufacturing. It actually spans both running day-to-day operations in manufacturing and also the digital transformation aspect in manufacturing. So it kind of gives me a dual perspective on the challenges and opportunities in manufacturing. Now today, I'll be walking through why digital quality is not just more than a nice to have, especially in these times of tariffs and uncertainty, and how it can help you stay ahead even when things feel unpredictable, right? So, okay, so uncertainty. Now, uncertainty is no longer a short-term phase now, right? It's kind of the new backdrop of how we operate, whether it's the current tariffs, regulatory shifts, global supply chain disruptions. Manufacturers are constantly adjusting. And in these challenging times, what sets high-performing companies apart is not just the ability to avoid that uncertainty, but their ability to adapt and capitalize on it. And one of the most powerful yet often overlooked tools to do that, as Bill mentioned, is quality, right? So traditionally, quality has been seen as a checkpoint or just a compliance function, right? But in reality, when and again, as Bill alluded to it earlier, when digitized and connected across the enterprise, quality becomes a strategic asset. So the question isn't just how to survive uncertainty, it's how to use that digital quality to turn it into a competitive advantage. However, even now, we see most companies still relying on outdated paper-driven quality systems. Whether it is industry compliance, control plans, work instructions, they are all kind of paper-based and they move around the shop floor manually like this. And where someone at the start of the shift is kind of running around, distributing operational instructions, check sheets, and at the end of the shift, going around again, picking those documents up again and then keying them into some other system, or maybe just filing them away in a file. What if there's a change to those documents or a deviation takes place? It takes days before those documents are updated and make it to the required person and location. So eventually, paper is just following the process, right? You're not directing your quality. Now, what about customer and industry compliance? So those core quality documents are typically printed and then filed, and they are just sitting somewhere in the quality office, right? If you have an audit, you have got to find those right documents. And then we see over and over again companies having dedicated audit teams where those teams, that all that manpower, they just spend weeks preparing for audits and getting the right documentation in place. Honestly, it's a big waste of time and resources, and certainly not sustainable in the long run. Now, paper is not equal to control. Paper does not mean control. A lot of manufacturers have a central command center, which looks typically like this, where all the operational documents are printed and kept. And like, to be honest, this one is one of the more organized work centers that I've seen where paper is used. But still, it is too much to expect each operator to come and find relevant information from these different piles of paperwork, right? Especially when you have limited real estate and this area is being shared by 20, 30 operators. Now, what if an operator decides they just don't like your control plan? They just don't want to use your revised work instructions. They just want to use the old ones because they are easy to use and they are kind of already used to using those old documents. When that happens, your quality isn't integrated with the shop floor at all. And you end up with the shop floor using outdated and incorrect information as they continue to manufacture parts which are likely to fail the final quality checks and end up as scrap, right? Now, the other crucial part about using paper, the other big disadvantage that I'll point out is that it's very difficult to get data easily, accurately, and quickly. And a lot of the data that is captured on paper never even makes it to the stage where it can be analyzed by someone. And even that data that does get transferred to, say, an Excel or any other logging tool later on, there's a lag of at least 24 hours until the data is ready to be analyzed. And you end up always chasing issues that happened in the past. You're always chasing things in the past rather than troubleshooting them in real time. So no matter how good your quality paperwork is, it does not operationalize or control your manufacturing. And that's what we see when we talk with manufacturers who are looking to start their digital transformation journey. What we typically see is poorly integrated quality that doesn't help to identify problems in real time, as we just talked about. And then a big issue is that there's a ton of variability in the process. You never know who's doing work using which instructions. And all this variability eventually leads to cost, right? It's an added cost to you because now you have to spend more time trying to manage that variability and ensure that you have standardization throughout your processes. And again, as we just discussed, managing documents is extremely difficult and time consuming. And with several versions floating around, you never know which one is the latest. And then when you think about all those changes that keep coming up from the industry, right? ISO regulations, IATF, those FEMA changes that were introduced lately, trying to keep up with them is not easy at all. And quality is always understaffed, right? The resources are always stretched thin. We seem to be doing more with less, and we don't have enough resources because, honestly, a lot of organizations still look at quality they don't look at quality as a value add, but look at it as an expense. Now, all these challenges on the right, you see, ultimately result in higher business risk, low supplier ratings, high scrap and waste, and your costs go up and it ultimately starts impacting your bottom line. Now, the only way at Rockwell, the only way at Plex our customers can address these challenges at scale is to have a digital system that drives the process, that drives reporting, that drives all that accountability that we talked about. So if you just go back to the plant floor that we showed earlier, right, where everything was disconnected and paper-based, what Plex does is that now we drive that quality mindset and embed quality in kind of every facet of the manufacturing process. And we eliminate paper throughout the entire process, even outside the four walls of the supply chain. So every interaction with every stakeholder is considered, thought of, and managed proactively. And we digitize and error-proof the entire process through an intentional design. And you see on the right-hand side, it says single source database. Now, what's nice about that is as you make one update and broadcast that update into everything that needs to be updated, I mean, that broadcast basically updates everything that needs to be updated, and everything is always consistent with each other. And then these updates are also happening in real time, right? They are getting distributed out to the manufacturing floor as engineering is making those changes. So let me shift gears a bit here and take you through a little bit of that intentional design, show you some live software on how, and kind of demonstrate how at Plex we don't even, I mean, we don't just have digital quality, but also how that digital quality is so holistic and how each piece is kind of deeply integrated and intertwined with each other. Oh, okay. So I've now jumped into Plex. So Plex is a cloud-based solution. I'm just accessing it through a web browser. And we are starting here at the highest level with the compliance manager. Now, when we talk about compliance, we know that there are industry regulations and standards that you need to comply with. So ISO, IATF, but also customer-specific requirements to go
Hey,
by, right?
Akshay,
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure that you know you're not we're still looking at your presentation right now.
Oh, really? Okay, 1 second. I
Yes, sir.
share. Okay, let me just reshare that. I'm going to stop share and reshare again.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Apologies.
There you go. You're good.
Okay, and you can see as I navigate through tabs, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. All right. Apologies for that. So as I mentioned, we are starting at the highest level with the compliance manager here, and Plex allows you to have a library of these compliance standards, right? So it could be ISO, IATF, it could be customer specific requirements. And when you go into one of those, if you drill into any one of them, you see those detailed line items, right? The detailed list of requirements pertaining to that standard. Now, within each requirement, just click here. Within each requirement, you see you've got a screen that lets you define each requirement, but an important feature is the capability to set up reviews, right? So you may want to set up reviews for segments of a standard that are particularly important for you to comply with, or you know that an auditor is going to give you extra scrutiny on, or simply things that you know will help your business run better, right? You can use these checklists here. You can set up audits to prepare and assure yourself that you are maintaining compliance to those particular requirements. And again, with Plex, all these audits, as pretty much everywhere, within the Plex ecosystem, all these things are controlled with a workflow-driven process. So the action has to be taken on this date by this person or team. And if that doesn't happen, it is escalated to the next level with automated alerts and email notifications. So it's literally impossible for you to kind of miss something or make any mistakes. You can also use sign-offs, which is form of an electronic signature capture with regards to the review. So now if I just come back to the previous screen that we were looking at, this is where I can see how we have been performing against all those requirements, right? When was the last review done? What the status is, when is the next review due, and the status of the sign-offs as well. And then again, you have all your evidence documents attached right there. Now, as I just mentioned, we see companies having dedicated audit teams where they spend 6 to 8 weeks preparing for audits, chasing down paperwork. Considering two major audits a year, you have 3 months gone already, right? With Plex, all this information, including all that supporting documentation, is always at your fingertips. And what we find is our customers who use Plex, they are always audit ready. They don't need to spend any time preparing for that. So everything is already there in place for the audits to take place. So moving on to Plex's digital FEMA application, where cross-functional teams can collaborate in real time, identifying and prioritizing potential failure modes early in the process design. Now on your screen, what you're seeing is the latest version of our FEMA application. At Plex, we do support the previous 4th edition version as well. But what you are seeing now is the latest version, which is fully compliant with the AIAG and VDA standards. Now, I won't go too deep into that, but just to point out this chain link, which you see on the left, which shows that this part FEMA is linked to a foundation FEMA. Now, this aspect of this new version has been a major driver for adoption for this new FEMA, where you can kind of institutionalize your knowledge in these foundation FEMAs and have them as a living document, which can then be incorporated into new or existing products. Now, any change, the key value is that any change you want to propagate through your products, simply make a change to the foundation FEMA, and then you are distributing automatically all that information throughout your entire FEMA network, rather than manually copying each piece of information across potentially hundreds of different parts, right? Now, by building out this FEMA, we are also building out a dynamic control plan that stays in sync with the FEMA as it identifies what inspections need to be done. And then by building out this control plan, we are dynamically building out these check sheets. These check sheets are directly controlling quality and operational behavior at each step in the process. So these, what you're seeing on the screen right now, these could be quality checks or inspections that operators or quality inspectors would perform as they maybe go on to start production, or maybe based upon a specific time interval, or every few, or like every 10 or 15 parts they make, right? They have to do these quality checks. Now, on the left, you can see that you can have work instructions, you can have images, you can have PDF documents, you can even have video recordings here, right? Video instructions recorded here, just to guide them as they navigate through these steps. And then again, at Plex, we have a complete gauge management system built into the solution. So in this specific example, you see this marked as red. So this is a gauge which is past its calibration date. Now, as an operator, if I pick up this gauge and I try to record a measurement, Plex is simply not going to allow me to do that because it's not been calibrated. So again, a lot of error proofing is kind of inherently built into the system. So as an operator, I will have no option just to pick up the other gauge. Now, if the other gauge also is not calibrated, unfortunately, Plex is going to restrict the operator from recording any production. So I pick up that gauge. Actually, on the shop floor, I just pick it up, I scan it, and then as I go into record production, assuming that I record a value which is out of spec, right? Guess what? The quality supervisor is alerted immediately, right? Something has failed. Now, the idea here with this immediate alert system that we have is that we want to tell someone right away that there's a problem, because let's catch it as early as possible, because it's always cheaper to rework something right after you catch it versus letting it just go down the line and have a lot of other things done to it. Or maybe this part goes into a bigger assembly and then eventually you end up with a lot of scrap, right? So the value with all this is that now not only you are no longer updating your FEMA's control plans and check sheets separately and copying the same information from passing that information manually from one document to another and causing confusion and errors, there's also no running around the shop floor looking for supervisors for instructions and even for reporting purposes. Everything in Plex is seamless and kind of digitally connected. Now, just shifting gears a bit again, when we talk about issues that come up in manufacturing, how fast you can tackle those issues, how comprehensively you tackle those issues, that also dictates how competitive you are, right? So it is very important that you continuously improve, and for that we have something what we call the problem control. So this gives you the ability to drive that digital root cause analysis and collaboration across the organization. So it's not just identifying the issue and logging it in. It incorporates out-of-the-box tools like 5Ys and 8Ds. You see here the 5Y, and then identifying like where you can kind of align cross-functional teams and assign actions and activities as you gather information. And then you perform that root cause analysis and assign actions and activities as you gather information, and then even close the loop by updating these back into the FEMAs and control plans, right? Updating your core quality documents based upon the findings from these root cause analysis. Now, a very cool part about this is that you can also bring your suppliers into the fold. So if they are involved, if they ship you a part and that part has some issue, they can really come in and say, hey, this was the root cause for the material that we shipped to you that was found bad. They need to let us know that the root cause for this was that, and maybe even what their corrective action was to solve that problem so that it doesn't happen again. Now, we also talked about managing quality beyond the four walls of the supply chains, right? Now, in the automotive world, especially if you have a lot of suppliers you source from, or you have a lot of customers you ship to, we see companies over and over again struggling to manage PPAP documentation and the enormous back and forth communication that happens with both their suppliers and their customers. Missed deadlines missed deadlines of submission, lost documentation in emails, and miscommunication over phone calls. So with Plex, not only we have a complete customer portal where your customers can come in and collaborate with you, we also have a complete holistic supplier portal where where you can collaborate with your suppliers, you can perform supplier assessments, you can have supplier scorecards, have your suppliers come into the portal and update their capabilities and certifications. But then you also have a dedicated PPAP module where you can basically communicate your PPAP requirements digitally, and then have your suppliers submit all the relevant documentation corresponding to each requirement and PPAP level before you finally approve each submission. And they can also attach their evidence documentation here. So again, a very collaborative way of doing this rather than communicating over emails and phone calls. Now, for PPAPs that you need to submit to your customers, again, Plex allows you to collaborate internally with different stakeholders, attach evidence documentation, and as you kind of gather all that information, eventually, as you print out that submission package, what Plex is going to do is it's going to grab all that documentation, put it together into a single package with a cover sheet for submission to your customer or whoever the audience for that document is. But then finally, how do we tackle that operational governance and control part, right? The final piece of the puzzle. How do we make sure that for the operator at the shop floor, how don't we not just making information available to them, but also driving that operational governance and control that we have been talking about? What you see on the screen right now is what we call the control panel, which is the heart of Plex. It's kind of a digital cockpit for operators, which not only captures all relevant information from the work center they are at, the job they are currently working on. It gives them easy access to production history and work center logs, but it also allows them to record production and record scrap with just a few clicks. It also gives our customers the ability to have their operators log in by scanning a badge or with a user ID. And the idea here is, again, not just for capturing worker time and attendance, but also ensuring that the right operator with the right skill set is logging into into a work center. So assuming that if I am trying to log into a work center, or I'm trying to operate a machine and I lack the right skills and certifications to operate that machine, Plex is not even going to allow me to log into that until I take that particular course or until I undertake that particular training. So a lot of error proofing, again, built inherently into the solution. And then like a major piece of this is we see quality mostly disconnected from manufacturing, right? It's a separate department. But with Plex, we consider quality as a crucial part of overall manufacturing. So this is where you see these are the check sheets, these tiles that you see here. And these are the same check sheets that we just saw when we were discussing how an operator picks up a check sheet and logs information there. You see one green tile here, which was completed at the start of the shift, but there's an orange one, which is required every 60 minutes, but it has not been completed. Now, Plex, again, as a part of its error proofing, if I, as an operator, I have done everything right, but if I go into record a production and I have not completed this safety check, or a quality check, which was kind of dictated by the quality department, it will not allow me to record that production. So again, a big aspect of quality being embedded into the overall manufacturing mindset and error proofing along with that. So again, the key idea here is, just to summarize, bringing everything together for the shop floor operators so that they are not only informed and feel empowered, but also enforcing that operational governance and control. So that's it from my side. Again, I would like to thank everyone for joining the webinar today. I will now turn it over back to Dallas for introducing the next section of this webinar.
Very
Thank you,
good.
everyone.
Thank you, Akshay. All right, now Sarah. Sarah's going to jump on here and talk to us about product costing. So Sarah, I'll let you get right into it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to figure out the screen I want to show here, so we'll give this one a try. All right. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Jackson, and I'm an enterprise software solution consultant here at Plex. Before joining Rockwell, I spent 23 years in industry, and I'm a cost accountant by trade, and it's something I'm very passionate about. And in fact, I don't. I'm sorry. Are you seeing my PowerPoint slide? I just shifted slides. I might be on the wrong
Yes.
screen. Okay,
Product
great.
costing topic introduction.
Yes, thank you. Just want to make sure I got the right thing going here. All right. So today I am going to take us through a discussion around product costing. So we're going to look at the power of a detailed cost structure. I'll share where we can take actions to help navigate tariffs. Then we'll look at real-time variance reports that can help us isolate where exposure may be coming from. And finally, we'll look at a gross margin report and actions that can be taken to improve profitability. And for this, I'm going to also jump right into our Plex solution. So Dallas, if you can confirm you're seeing a Plex screen before I go further.
Right now, it is still your still your presentation.
Okay, hang on just a second. Does not like when we switch our applications by the look of it.
Yes.
No, that's okay. All right. Hopefully it's a Plex screen now.
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, perfect. All right. So in order for us to measure risks and exposure with our product costs, we first need to establish a baseline. So Plex is a standard cost system. However, it does track actual costs from both a material and labor perspective. And today I'll show you how that all comes together. The first component to building a product cost is what we call in Plex a process routing. So this is a BOM and routing. These BOM items or material components that are consumed to make something will be the source of material costs. And these are identified in the operation that they're consumed at. Within our operations, our work centers are going to provide rates and crew sizes that are going to help our labor and our overhead costs. So we've got rates and we've got crew size. So for us, work centers are defined as any place work can be done to complete that operation. So while you can assign as many work centers as you'd like to an operation, one of those will be used as the standard in the product cost. The second component that's critical for product costing in Plex are the cost models. So these are calculations, and they're going to be defined through algorithms where we'll specifically isolate how those costs are going to be determined. So let's get into the standard cost model. As we can see, there are a number of algorithms that can be used. So for material costs, I can point Plex to an approved supplier price as the source of material costs. But this isn't the only one. There are several sources available. So for instance, a last PO price, a last receipt price could also potentially be used. If I go back and look at my algorithms again, in this case for labor and overhead, I can see that I'm using the information from that process routing in my formula to calculate those costs. So these algorithms allow for quite a bit and configurability to our product costs, as you're able to establish any needed number of cost types and cost subtypes to define your costs. So you can also create many cost models as you would like. So while one of them is going to be established for your financials, additional models can be created for analysis purposes, including could potentially measure some of those tariff impacts. So we have the base structure for product costs coming from the process routing. We then layer on the cost model or those calculations, and that gets us to what we call the cost structure in Plex. As you might notice, the structure is broken out by operation, however it's defined in the process routing. And again, those cost types and cost subtypes are defined by our cost models. The ability to see our cost by operation gives us clear visibility to our WIP inventories. So no longer is WIP a black hole. You're going to see your inventory quantities and values at each operation as defined in the process routing. Additionally, as scrap is generated, we can now apply the specific scrap cost at the operation that it was incurred. The power of the cost structure not only is in those cost type details, but that the calculations for each one of those costs is going to be clearly defined. The guesswork is now removed on the source cost. Plex is going to give you that long math established based on those algorithms that we had set. So this detailed visibility allows us to set more accurate pricing to protect margins, identify cost savings opportunities, and make more informed decisions on our product catalog. But now we can start getting creative. So I've actually set up a cost model for tariffs, and now I can start accounting for tariff costs where they apply. And this can be used for material and margin analysis purposes. So if I drill into my material component CA 7085, we can see that I have accounted for of 25% that is now built into my product cost. So now I can use this for analysis. Once we've established our cost models, we can now use reports such as the cost model comparison. So this is where we can distill where variances between costing methodologies may be coming from. In this example, we can see my material component again and the variance tariff. If you recall, I mentioned Plex can track actual costs from both a material from a material perspective, and one of those ways is going to be through the purchase price variance or PPV report. As material is being received in, PPV information is being captured. I can see what price I purchased at and the standard cost of that material. This will then calculate any variances that are thrown. This is real-time data based on those receipts. This will let me know where I have deviations that I need to address. So are variances due to supplier price increases? Did I have to source to a different supplier, potentially through capacity constraints? And do I want to get that price change back up into my product cost? Many of the cost-related screens in Plex can allow you to choose a cost model. So for this PPV report, I can actually select that tariff cost model, and now I can start measuring any of the variances that are occurring if and when suppliers are passing those costs through to us. So the PPV report can facilitate conversations around supplier rationalization, giving you a larger view of purchasing activities as they relate to product costs. In Plex, we also capture actual labor on production jobs as it's occurring. There are numerous reports available to monitor this against standard rates as established in those process routings, but I'm going to highlight the production summary and efficiency report. So for every part and work center, we can measure what is happening on the shop floor from a labor perspective by analyzing efficiency. The efficiency can be translated into profitability by measuring if production quantities are hitting the expected rates. This report is going to track the standard rate versus the actual rate and also give us an efficiency percentage. So if less is being made, costs are higher, thus not as profitable. If more is being made, costs are actually lower than the standard reflects and thus more profitable. So investigation may determine things like, I have a new operator in the work cell and they're not as efficient as a tenured employee, or perhaps something has changed in the manufacturing process itself where the rates in the standard may need adjusted. So it may make sense to update those costs to reflect more accurate margins. This report can help determine areas of opportunity for cost or margin improvement. Now, from a financial perspective, we can use a report such as the job cost variance from standard summary to target parts and their production jobs that are deviating from the expected standard cost on the job. So we can see again those actual costs compared to the standards and any of the variances that are occurring. This summary lets us quickly identify those jobs with the largest variances. And from here, we can get to the details of a job using the drill through that is embedded in Plex. The job cost variance from standard report provides us detail by operation on how it ran. Again, from that financial perspective, remember, we're capturing actual time the operators are incurring on their jobs, and we can benchmark that against our standards. So for this job, we can see that operations ran for much less than the standard time, creating favorable variances. This translates to the standard cost being too high and this part being more profitable than a margin report may reflect. The efficiency and job labor reports can point us to areas that may need assessment, leading us to potentially adjusting our standard costs. Any needed adjustments can be made to the materials or the process routing at any point in time, and the cost can be quickly updated in that cost structure screen without having to shut the system down or kick your users out. We click Recalc, and the cost will be updated based on any changes made. Plex allows for real-time cost analysis and takes the heavy lifting off of cost updates. We've now established detailed product costs. We've monitored variances and made needed adjustments. We've created data we can trust. So now it's time to look at a gross margin report to measure those profit impacts. Information on this report is available real time as well as parts are being shipped. We can clearly see revenue and cost information in detail as defined on that cost structure, and of course, margin calculations. Additionally, this is another report where cost models can be selected. So if we go back and select that the tariff cost model, we can see the impacts to the margin where the tariffs were applied. And in this case, I have a margin reduction of about 2% due to those tariffs. So we can monitor that margin erosion and plan courses of actions to try to mitigate some of that exposure. So cost reduction activities could be around scrap reduction. As we mentioned earlier during our quality discussion, we're measuring and tracking detailed scrap information in real time. We might want to be monitoring those material purchases, possibly performing supplier rationalization exercises. We want to assess our shop floor efficiencies and try to reduce or remove labor costs. We might consider product rationalization. So perhaps I'm resourcing production to other facilities or removing non-performing items from product lines. And also possibly navigating price negotiations with your customers. So determining what percentage of cost increases could potentially be passed through. The detailed real-time interconnected product cost system that Plex offers is essential in manufacturing because it empowers companies to make faster, more accurate decisions across production, pricing, and profitability. By linking cost data directly to operations, sourcing, and financial planning, manufacturers can quickly identify inefficiencies, respond to market changes, and drive strategic growth, turning cost management from a reactive process into a competitive advantage. So thank you, and I will now turn it back over to Dallas.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Akshay and Sarah, on that. Okay, I will go ahead and share my screen real quick as we're getting here towards the end. We're not quite done yet, but we are getting here towards the end of our lunch and learn here. One thing that I would like to add on is, to what Akshay and Sarah just discussed, and Fred, you may want to chime in here as well, is the Plex ecosystem is vast, and there's a lot more that can be done within Plex aside from just the product costing and the quality management. Plex has an ecosystem that from full MES all the way up into ERP. The beautiful thing about Plex is the fact that if you already have an ERP that the organization is committed to, that on the MES side of things, we can make sure that all the data that needs to be pushed into the ERP is done that on the Plex side as well. And so, as a matter of fact, what I would like to do is just show you a capabilities chart of Plex. If I can get my screen here, let me get this over here. As I'm still sharing. Can you see my screen, the capabilities chart here, Fred?
Yeah, it's on the screen. It's a bit tiny for it to be read and to be action. But I will say that this is available in actual printed form, which is kind of odd for a digital guide to say that. But we do make this document available in an 18 by 24 kind of a pirate map format, which is great because it identifies all the different modules inside of Plex, both on ERP as well as MES, and the different capabilities within those modules on a more granular level.
Awesome.
Yeah, Dallas, you brought this up, and I'll finish your thought off a little bit here. Tariffs are putting a challenge on all of us, right? It's causing us to question all the things that we thought at one time were relatively certain, as much as manufacturing can be. But this is a once in a generation thing we're facing. And it's a really lousy time to not have a solid understanding of your business metrics. Okay. And that's really what Plex is. It doesn't matter whether it's our quality solution or our full MES/MOM or our kind of all-in ERP. They're all designed to work together, so they work together seamlessly and replace a lot of the point solutions you may have on your shop floor. But the end goal of all of these products is simply to bring you accurate information in a timely basis so you can make smart business decisions on that, right? You can't afford to not have good information. You can't, real time is now the standard manufacturing. So doing things on paper, waiting a day to see what happened, kind of like running a production facility through the rearview mirror. At one time was the way it had to happen because there were no other options. So whether it's Plex or any of the products in the marketplace, as you begin digital transformation, know that that's the new high watermark to hit. And we're glad to show you examples within your category, business category, of how we're achieving those results.
Perfect. Thank you, Fred. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and get back into our slideshow here. I want to open this up to the Q&A portion. I don't know if there's anybody that would like to put any of their questions in the chat portion of this Zoom conference. But if you do have any questions, feel free to go and submit those right now. And if we can get the answer to you during this, in the 7 minutes that we have left here, then we'll do that. If not, then we can be sure to reach back out to you with the answers. So I'll just fill time here as we're waiting for people to submit the questions. And then I'll even move on to the next slide. That way, if you're really just wanting to start a conversation in your facility, whether it's the total line efficiency audit, whether it's the OEE value engineering workshop, or it's around anything else in your facility that you have identified that we have a need and we think we know where to start, but we would like somebody else's opinion on that, please feel free to reach out to us. There's some contact information here, from my mobile phone number to my email address. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can go to our website, automateit.net, or you can call us directly on our phone number, or you can also follow us on LinkedIn. And then again, we have our QR code here that you can scan down here at the bottom that will take you immediately to a scheduling page. So like I mentioned earlier, no matter where you're at in your journey or what you're focusing on, we have a team, whether it's on the Plex side or on the Rockwell side, or our own engineers that are working on data collection projects, automation projects, controls upgrades, AMRs, AGVs. We have all of the resources and the partners to provide a facility with just about anything that they would need moving forward. And so I don't know if we've received any questions here in the chat. I do not believe so. Again, know that in the chat, if you come back and look, there are some links that you can follow to get to the briefing, to schedule a meeting with us. But aside from that, I do not believe that there's anything more to discuss. Bill, Fred, is there anything? Sarah, Akshay, is there anything else that anybody wanted to add before we jump off of here?
Only that this event, this webinar, was advertised as a lunch and learn, and there is an e-gift card coming your way for a lunch that you can have on your own with yourself or a friend, coming your way after this webinar. And Dallas, if you have any further information about how that's going to be received or what that email looks like, so it doesn't end up in a spam, maybe this would be a good time to share it.
Yes, our team, our business development team that reached out to each one of you that got you signed up for this webinar will reach out and ask you how you want to receive that. So be on the lookout for phone calls and emails coming through the pipeline from our team to make sure that you do get that gift card. And we're very happy that everybody took time out of their day to join us. We know that you have a lot going on, so we really appreciate that. Bill, anything else that you want to add? Bill, Sarah, Akshay?
Nope, I'm good. I appreciate everyone's time. There was a lot of information today. We look forward to hearing back from you one way or another.
Very good. All right. Well, with that being said, we'll let everybody jump out of here.